Hello again. Again, I'm Laura Corey, and I have Allison Olson here with me. And I'm an adoptive mom, and Allison is both an adoptee and an adoptive mom. But both of us are children's book authors, and we both wrote books about adoption. And so we're here today. Allison, I wanted to ask you about advice that you might have for hopeful adoptive parents or prospective adoptive parents.
Sure. I know that we talked about, so we've asked this question as well of Laura before. So I'm going to kind of elaborate and add on to what she said. So obviously that spans the gamut. So as Laura mentioned, she gets a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions when they find out that you have adopted, right? When they find out you're an adoptive parent, that's when people, I think, finally feel comfortable asking questions around the process. And so sometimes you'll get it really early on, like, we don't know, we haven't really made a decision yet. And then sometimes you'll get it further along in the process. Hey, we've been waiting a year, we've been waiting 2 years, we've been waiting, 3 years, and so Laura's answer focused a lot on education, and I completely agree with that. And so I'm just going to kind of tack on to that. The advice I would give more from my adoptee standpoint is when you are waiting, and the wait is tough, and it is time stands still. Every second feels like a year, especially for a lot of folks. Most folks that are going into adoption have been through infertility. Some folks have even been through like IVF treatment. So we're talking about years already. And then you add on to it 6 months to a year of home study, then you're an active waiting family, and then it might take a few years. So we're talking about years and years of waiting. And so I want to address that first to say, we get you. We get you. We feel you. We hear you. And from an adoptee, that is never the focus that is told to us, right? And so there's a lot of love and in wanting and like needing, this child for that long. And that's a focus that just isn't really said to us, right? And so what I would suggest is journaling. And I actually created a journal for this based on the one that I did for my daughter. And it's not even journaling for yourself, but it is healthy, right, for you as well. But what I focused on was love letters to my future child. And so in there, we didn't have her name yet, right? When I started, I wish I had started earlier, to be honest. But we actually knew that she was a she, right? Yeah. And we of course didn't know though if the adoption was going to disrupt or if it was going to move forward, but these letters were truly written for our future child. So even if a disruption happened, I think it would be important to still say like, well, that one wasn't you, but you are out there and you are going to be coming into our family. And so the reason that I suggest this is because can you imagine how it would feel as an adoptee when you are questioning things? Was I wanted? Was I loved? And you can go to a journal that maybe even has a year's worth of letters in it that say, I loved you, and this is tough. I'm having a tough day. I walked past the nursery again and broke down crying. When are you going to join our family? I love you so much. Sorry, I'm crying right now. To be able to read those things as an adoptee, as they grow up and as they continue to process their adoption and what that means to them and their story, to have those and to have it in your handwriting. Right? Like those are very important things. And like, even for me, so I started it later. I started it when we got the phone call that she was in labor. And so we were packing up our stuff. And so I took a moment in the craziness and I was like, we just received the phone call. We're frantically packing and we cannot wait to meet you. And, all that. And so that was like the
Yeah.
first letter. And then we got to the airport. We are excited and we are now starting to realize how nervous we are. And then in the hospital, there's always different things. And there was a moment where we thought she could go to the NICU for a little bit based on a few tests. And my husband was pacing the floor. He was so nervous. He had already absolutely fallen in love with her. And so I'm writing about it and I'm like kind of mocking him in this letter. I'm like, he is beside himself
Aw.
thinking you might go to the NICU for just even like a couple hours. And so these are the things where hopefully she can look back and know that she was loved, and I know it's only from the adoptive parent side, which, I do want to reflect that's all this would be, but it is healing for the person who is waiting. And
Mhm.
it is healing for your future adoptee. So that's the
Yeah.
advice that I would give that could be something that that is helpful for both of you.
That I want to say too that the agency we worked with, they recommended, because they did recommend that and I didn't do it. And I wish that I had. I mean, we started, but we didn't finish. But they also had her birth mom make her a photo album, which was along those same lines. And it's really special. I used to hide it because when my daughter was little, like I was afraid she was going to take it apart and I would bring it down and I would get it out. But sometimes I would hear her, she would get anything in her closet that was up high, when I would hear her getting it out, but it's special and it's hers. And now that she's bigger, she's obviously allowed to just have it. But I love that. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful suggestion. So,
and I love yours. I think that that's anything like that where a child can, as they grow up and process their adoption, can look back through and know how loved they are, and how wanted they are. I think that that's always important. So we'll take other ideas. If you guys have other ideas, write it in the comments. Submit it to us. We'd love to hear them. So great. All right. Thanks, Laura.
All right. Bye-bye.